Hiya! Welcome to Leafy Lovin' and another video from my YouTube channel. Okay, so today I want to talk about some of those things that I wish I knew at the beginning. Oh my god, don't you just, like, when you're learning something new, you know, you get 6 months in, maybe you're learning the piano or a new language or how to design or something like that, and then you get 6 months in and you find all these shortcuts or all these like hacks, even though I don't like the word, but you know, you learn all these things from people and you're like, God, I wish I knew that at the beginning. That's what happened quite a few times to me. I had these aha moments. So I want to share them with you today. If you're just beginning out your plant journey, there's a few things that might help you along the way, that people in the plant world who have been doing it for a while, and perhaps when you're starting out, it might just be a few useful tips and tricks. So let's get into that. So my first tip or thing that you should know when you're first starting out plants is soils ain't soils. What do I mean by that? Well, again, when I first started with plants, I had it in my head that you could just go out and buy a bag of potting mix, or even maybe just grab some dirt out of the garden if you're lucky enough to have a backyard. Pop a plant in with a bit of dirt into a pot and off you go. That didn't quite work. The soil the plant has matters, because the soil is where the plant gets nutrients and vitamins, and it needs oxygen to the roots, gets its water. The soil out there actually has a lot of different things the plant needs. Obviously it also needs light and wind and all of that kind of thing, but the type of plant is very dependent on the type of potting mix you need. So if you have more of a, what we call an aroid plant, like a monstera or a philodendron, you'll find that you need quite an airy, chunky potting mix, because those type of plants, even though they're available in many places around the world, usually live in areas where they're quite full of different plants, and a lot of the, you know, decaying matter fall to the ground, and it's a very chunky, you know, floor base. So the plants have to grow through this chunky, airy, aroid mixture altogether. So that's kind of what the potting mix needs to be if you're going to emulate and bring it into your house. The right soil is actually crucial for the plant that you're having. It needs to allow, if they're thin roots, you need a quite light kind of mix to make sure that those thin roots can get through. If it's an aroid and you have really chunky roots, it might need much more of a chunky, you know, big pieces of bark, big pieces of perlite or pumice, you know, very airy mixture. If it's a cacti, you need some kind of potting mix, obviously, that will hold a lot of water in the moment, but then dry out as well. It can't stay moist. So again, the type of potting mix is very dependent on the plant. So do a little bit of research if you can and find out the right potting mix and or soil you need for the plant. Okay, number 2 on my list, the second thing you should know as a beginner is overwatering plants is a big thing. So it's one of the biggest killers of plants out there for us beginners, for us indoor plant people. And I didn't know that at the beginning. I always thought that if you have a droopy leaf, or, you know, if the plant doesn't look very good, it's probably underwatered and it needs some water, and off you go. Well, turns out that's actually not how it goes. Don't be tempted to add more water into the soil straight away if you see the leaves drooping. The best thing to do straight away is check the soil and even feel it with your finger. Try and, you know, pop your finger into the soil, try and push your finger as far down as you can to see how far it is dry or wet. And if it is wet and you can still, like, if some dirt comes out on your finger and sticks to your finger, it means the potting mix is wet and you don't need to water it again. You may need to give it more breathing space. You may and get oxygen to the roots, or there might be a pest, or there might be something else, or it just might not have enough light, and therefore you need to move it to a little bit more of a brighter light. Because when you're watering a plant, it's not how much water you give it in one go, it's how often you give it water. And as I said, you want that potting mix to dry out a little bit, if not altogether. I always wait, especially for philodendrons or monsteras, I actually wait quite a bit for almost pretty much the whole base, the whole potting mix base to dry out. And especially if I'm using a water meter, I will just pop the water meter right down to the base, and if it says dry, then I'll water it. Plants actually prefer to be underwatered than overwatered if you're going to go one way or the other. Okay, third tip. Did you know that fertilizer isn't actually technically plant food? I always thought it was plant food. I felt silly when I found this out. Now, technically it helps with nutrients, don't get me wrong, it does help, but if a plant needs food, it actually means it needs more light. Remember back at school when we learned about photosynthesis? Well, that's the plants making its own food through the green chlorophyll in their leaves from sunlight. If you're getting a plant and it's a vining plant and there's a lot of room between where the leaves are coming out, it probably needs a bit more sunlight. You don't need to give it extra fertilizer to make it grow extra. Think of it like the sun or the LED light or the light that you give to the plant is its food, but the fertilizer is like vitamins. So we don't take vitamins, we don't take the same vitamins multiple times, like stack ourselves with it. And if we're sick, we'll take a little bit, or if we need some extra nutrients, we'll take some vitamins. So plants don't need fertilizer all the time. They just need a light sprinkle of fertilizer to make sure they get those additional nutrients like potassium and phosphorus, and even other smaller nutrients like zinc, etc. But it's not food. If you want to give the plant food, give it more light. I know, right? Okay, next tip. And my next tip is that size matters. Pot size matters. I'm talking about the pot size. So when you buy a plant and you bring it home, you will find that it's a small plant in a small pot. One of the things we really want to do when we get that plant home is, I want it to grow really big, so I'm going to put it into a big pot and that'll give it room to grow. No, don't do that. Because the bigger the pot, the more water it will hold. And as I've talked about already, you do need the roots, whether they're light or small roots or big chunky roots. Those roots need water, but they also need oxygen. They need air, they need airflow, right? So that, again, something like a big chunky potting mixture will have a lot of spaces and therefore the roots can climb through. Don't go for the larger pot automatically. In fact, I find that a lot of plants like the smaller pots and like their roots to be really tight in the plant pot. It can get to a point where you see the roots coming out underneath in the drainage holes, or even the roots start to come up the sides and out the top of the potting mix. Then it's probably time to repot. It's probably called root bound, and that just means that the roots are, going around in circles and it's stuck in there. But if that's not happening, have a check with everything else. Check the light, check the watering schedule or the watering consistency they have, check the environment, check the humidity. You won't need the larger pot. The plant will do very, very well in a smaller to medium-sized pot. I find that you want the best ratio when you're repotting. If you have to repot into a new pot, go up only 1 or 2 pot sizes, and the best ratio is usually around roots filling about half the pot and then potting mix filling about half the pot. Start with that. Don't go any bigger than that. Don't go a small plant and big plant pot, because the likelihood is that you will overwater it, it'll sit in too much water, and you unfortunately might kill the plant. So yeah, be careful of the pot size. Keep it in a smaller pot, no matter how much you want to put it into a bigger one. And then the final tip that I have, my fifth and final one, is use 2 pots. So use an inner pot and an outer pot. So again, when I first started looking at plants and I saw all these amazing Instagram photos and all these beautiful, pots and plants like this, I always thought that it was just, grab a pot, put some soil in it, put the plant in it, off you go. Well, actually, most of the people in the plant world use what we call an inner pot and an outer pot. And I'll actually show you right here. I think this one's in a plastic pot. It's a black plastic pot. Now the reason why we do that is because, as you can just see, I can lift the plant out of the big ceramic pot very easily. I can take it outside, I can water it, I can water the moss pole that I've got with it very easily without it being stuck and stagnant in water in the base. If I can't see underneath, I don't know how much water is sitting down here, and it could be rotting away the roots. So one of the biggest tricks in the plant world that you may not know as a beginner is put your plant in a plastic pot. Make sure the pot size, as I said, is the right size. Keep it a bit smaller, and then you can make the nice outer aesthetic pot any size you want, any shape you want. And this is where the aesthetic size comes in, the aesthetic look, I should say, comes in. So use an inner pot and an outer pot, and that way you can control how much water stays in the bottom of the pot. You can see the potting mix, you can lift out the plant, you can feel if it's heavy or light, etc., etc. You can look after the plant a lot easier. And when it comes time to repot, because the plant has outgrown the plastic pot, it's a lot easier to get out of plastic than it is out of ceramic. But yeah, use an inner pot and an outer pot. I promise you, it will change your life if you're not doing that already. Okay, so that's my top 5 tips for beginners. I wish I had known them at the beginning. Gosh, it probably would have made my journey a lot easier, and I probably wouldn't have killed as many plants. But in saying that, again, just try what you can. You want to learn as you go, and plants technically are pretty tough. you know, if you want them to look picture perfect and all of that green, beautiful, luscious with no brown tips, then yeah, you have to be really careful about every single little thing. But ultimately, plants are tough. You can cut them down to almost nothing, but as long as you've got the right environment, not overwatering, not underwatering, got the right potting mix, the plant will come back and it will help you. And again, you will just learn along the way. Plants are tough. So thank you for watching this video. Please do subscribe if you're liking the content that I'm putting out. Please put some comments for any feedback. I do want to grow and learn with this channel. And I want to just help and build a community out there and get people into plants and just learn to love it. Don't worry about perfection. You know, there's plenty of plants out there. There's plenty of plant people out there that show perfection, but perhaps it's not so much with the brown tips. It is this YouTube channel is about warts and all, I will say, as we go forward. So yeah, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. What I do is take the plant. Oops. For anyone who's starting out, I kind of wish I really had known them. Yes, Maggie. Help me a little bit more as I was beginning all of my plants. Hello, Maggie. Sorry, that's my puppy. So, yes, okay. Hello, Moosey. Hello. Yes, hello. Say hello. Say hello. This is Moose. Hello, Moose. Hello, can you get out of my shop, please? Moose. Moose, can't do this with you there. Okay. You're gonna, ow, you're stepping on my leg. Ow. Okay. Shall we talk about cold water? Shall we talk about pot plant? Okay. Okay, right. Cut.